Cars, the road test. What the examination involves. Vision test. Your eyes will be tested by a mechanical device. If you need your glasses, you will be required to wear them while driving. Your license will be coded for corrective lenses. Knowledge test. This test consists of a series of questions about your responsibility as a driver, including knowledge of laws and safe driving practices. You must also know the meaning of standard road signs. To learn more about road signs, please refer to the Traffic Signs, Signals, and Markings chapter of this book. Road test. Of course, your car must be in safe driving condition before you can be given the test. The examiner will direct you to make certain starts, stops, turns, and maneuvers that will help him determine whether you can handle a vehicle safely. Parallel parking. You will see an example of the proper way to parallel park your car or truck. Study this drawing, then practice many times doing what it tells you. Look back before and while backing your car. Stopping smoothly. You must be able to stop your car or truck as quickly and smoothly as possible without stalling the engine. The examiner will be instructing you in this driving maneuver. You must back your car for a distance of 100 feet at a slow rate of speed and as straight and smooth as possible. Turn your head and look back before and while backing. Be sure the way is clear of any other traffic. You will be required to pull off the road or turn your wheels full lock left or right before backing. Stopping at stop signs. You must give the proper hand or brake signal, approach the sign in the proper lane, and stop before reaching a stop line or a pedestrian crosswalk. Remain stopped until you may proceed safely. Turning around. You must be able to execute a three-point turn on a street of average width without hitting the curb, driving off the road, surface, or using a driveway. Proper clutching. If your car or truck has manual transmission, you will be asked to show the proper way to use it. You must hold the clutch all the way down when starting the motor and shifting gears. Do not ride with your foot resting on the clutch. Approaching corners. You must get in the proper lane, decrease the speed of your vehicle, and look in both directions, making certain that the way is clear before entering the intersection. Yielding the right-of-way. Always yield the right-of-way to pedestrians, motor vehicles, bicyclists, or anyone else who has moved into an intersection before you. Stopping on grades. You will be asked to stop correctly on a hill. If your car has a stick shift, it should be left in first or reverse. Starting on grades. Give appropriate signal, look back over your left shoulder, and when the way is clear, pull it slowly into the street or highway. Turning. Get into the proper lane and give a signal for at least 100 feet, about 1/4 of an average city block, before reaching the intersection and making the turn. Passing. Always look ahead and behind you to make certain no other vehicles are so near to you that it would be dangerous to pass. When necessary for warning another vehicle of your intention to pass, sound your horn. Carefully check the traffic. When the way is clear, signal your intent to pass. File out of your lane to pass and then speed up a little so that you can get around the other car or truck as quickly and safely as possible. However, do not exceed the speed limit. Railroad crossings. You may have to demonstrate how to cross railroad tracks during the road test. Using the horn. The horn must be used only when necessary to warn pedestrians, motorcyclists, bicyclists, or others who share the road with you. Do not use the horn to signal friends or to hurry other drivers. Maintaining good posture. You will be expected to maintain good posture while taking your road exam. This means having the seat adjusted so that you are able to reach the various foot pedals, as well as the steering wheel, gear shift lever, and turn signal lever. Also, you must be able to see without obstruction in all directions at all times. Steering a vehicle. Steering. The steering wheel is always turned in the direction you want the vehicle to move. Whether moving forward or in reverse, both hands should be placed on the outside of the steering wheel on opposite sides. Your grip on the steering wheel should be firm but gentle. Use your fingers instead of the palms of your hands, and keep your thumbs up along the face of the steering wheel. Never turn the wheel while gripping it from the inside of the rim. The proper grip on the steering wheel of a vehicle is extremely important. Think of the steering wheel as the face of a clock. Place your left hand at the 7 to 9 o'clock position and your right hand at the 3 to 5 o'clock position. Your grip should be firm but not too tight. Both of your hands should remain on the steering wheel at all times except when one hand is performing some other necessary function of driving, such as shifting gears or giving hand signals for turning, slowing, or stopping. It takes practice to get the feel of the vehicle you are handling. When you are first learning to handle your car or truck, choose rural roads that are lightly traveled when possible. After you feel you can steer the car accurately, making the tiny adjustments that are constantly necessary in steering, then you will be ready to practice other driving techniques such as turning and parking. Hand-to-hand steering. Use hand-to-hand steering, commonly called push-pull steering, when turning the wheel during normal driving activity, going forward above 10 to 15 miles per hour. When using hand-to-hand steering, your left hand grasps the wheel between 7 and 8 o'clock, and your right hand grasps the wheel between 4 and 5 o'clock. Depending on the direction of the turn, your right or left hand pushes the wheel up, and the opposite hand slides up, grasps the wheel, and pulls down to continue the turn, while the pulling hand moves down. The hand that initially pushed up slides back toward its original position to make adjustments as needed. The driver should use the area on the wheel between 11 and 8 o'clock with the left hand, and the area on the wheel between 1 and 8 o'clock with the right hand, regardless of the direction of the turn. Simply reverse the hand-to-hand process to bring the vehicle into your intended path. With your left hand positioned in the area between 7 and 9 o'clock, and your right hand positioned in the area between 3 and 5 o'clock, there tends to be less muscle stress, therefore less steering causing any weaving in a lane. With your arms next to your body, it is more natural to keep both of your hands on the wheel at all times. Since your hands and arms never cross over the steering wheel, there is less chance of injury to the face, hands, and arms in the event of a frontal crash when a vehicle is equipped with a driver's side airbag. This is the preferred method of steering. 2 and 10 o'clock is not recommended because it can be dangerous in vehicles equipped with airbags. Hand-over-hand steering. Use hand-over-hand steering when turning the wheel at low speeds, such as at an intersection or when parking the vehicle. When using hand-over-hand steering, your left hand grasps the wheel and the steering wheel between the 8 and 9 o'clock, and your right hand grasps the wheel between 3 and 4 o'clock. Depending on the direction of the turn, use the right top third of the steering wheel to move the wheel to the right, and use the left top third of the wheel to move the wheel to the left. This process is repeated as necessary. Simply reverse the hand-over-hand process to bring the vehicle into your intended path. Evasive action steering. When anti-lock brakes are engaged, if equipped, and steering inputs are required to avoid a hazard or the vehicle is forced off the roadway, it may be necessary to limit the steering input to avoid moving out of the intended lane of travel and across other lanes of travel. This evasive action limited steering approach has been recommended with dealing with these problems areas since 1969. Vehicles designed after 1969 allow the vehicle to move 12 feet to the left or right at speeds under 35 with a 180-degree steering input to move the front of the vehicle, followed by a 360-degree input to move the back of the vehicle, followed by a 180-degree steering input to return the vehicle to a straight position without losing traction to the tires. As speeds increase, much less steering input is needed to move the vehicle one lane space to the left or right. Modern vehicles only take 45 to 90 degrees of steering to move a vehicle back on the road after an off-road encounter. It is critical to limit the steering to not more than 180 degrees of steering when trying to evade a problem on the roadway. When more than 180 degrees of input is used, traction loss occurs, and often the vehicle moves across the roadway in the approach of oncoming vehicles. One-hand steering. Use one-hand steering only when backing or operating vehicle controls, wipers, flashers, lights, etc. They require a temporary reach from the steering wheel. The placement of one hand on the steering wheel is critical to the vehicle balance, steering, reversals, and avoiding potential injury. When the driver is required to reach for an operating control, it is important to keep the other hand in the normal vehicle operating position of 8 to 9 o'clock or 3 to 4 o'clock, depending on the steering wheel design. This keeps vehicle stability, reduces steering reversals, and allows for additional steering efforts as needed. The only time that 12 o'clock is recommended is when backing a vehicle to the left or right, and the driver has to turn it in the seat in order to see the path of travel to the rear. Manual transmission. Driving a car with a manual transmission requires coordination of clutch, accelerator, and gear shift lever. Using the clutch. The clutch pedal must always be pressed down to the floor before starting the engine, before shifting, and before coming to a stop. Depressing the clutch disconnects the engine from the wheels and takes the car out of gear. At other times, when driving, keep your foot off the clutch pedal. The habit of riding the clutch, driving with the left foot resting lightly on the clutch pedal, causes needless clutch wear. Shifting should be done smoothly from one position to the next, and always with the clutch depressed to the floor. The speeds given for shifting are only intended to be the guidelines. Using stick shift gears. Neutral. Car should be in this gear when starting engine. First, this gear is used to start the car in motion. First can also be used for driving up or down very steep hills, for driving in mud, snow, or ice, and for pulling heavy loads. Second, this gear is used to bring the car up to a higher speed. It may also be used for steep hills or for driving in snow or ice. Third, this gear in a 3-speed transmission is used for steady forward driving. In a 4-speed transmission, third is used to accelerate. Fourth, this position is used on all level roads. Fifth, this gear in some cars is also a cruising gear for higher speeds on level roads. Reverse. This gear is used for backing the car. Never shift or reverse when the car is moving. Starting the engine. The following procedures you should start a car with a manual transmission. 1. Make sure parking brake is on. 2. Press clutch pedal to the floor with your left foot. 3. Put gear shift lever in neutral. 4. Turn on the ignition switch and check the bulbs and the warning lights to make sure they work. 5. Turn the key forward only until the engine starts. 6. Check gauges. Putting the car in motion. 1. With clutch pedal to the floor, move the lever from neutral to first gear. 2. Depress the foot brake and release the parking brake. 3. Signal. Check for traffic in both mirrors. 4. Check traffic ahead and behind by glancing over your left shoulder. 5. If clear, accelerate slightly and release the clutch slowly. If you release it suddenly, the car will jerk forward and the engine may stall. You will feel the engine take hold and begin to move the car. The point where the engine takes hold is called the friction point. 6. Hold the clutch momentarily at the friction point. 7. Gradually press down on the accelerator and let the clutch up all the way. Shifting from first to second. At about 10 to 15 miles per hour, use the following steps to shift from first to second gear. 1. Press the clutch down. 2. Release the accelerator. 3. Move the gear shift lever into second. A slight pause as you go across neutral in second will help you shift smoothly. 4. Accelerate gently as you release the clutch, hesitating briefly at the friction point. Stopping from upper gears. When stopping from 3rd, 4th, or 5th gear, always use the brake pedals first to slow down before pressing down the clutch. By keeping the car in gear, the engine helps slow the car. In an emergency, applying the brakes without using the clutch at all will stop the car. Follow these steps to stop the upper gears. 1. Check mirrors for traffic. 2. Let up on the accelerator. 3. Tap brake lightly to signal for a stop. 4. Brake gradually. 5. Press clutch pedal down. 6. Brake to a smooth stop. Shift into first or the proper gear when stopped. Downshifting. Downshifting means shifting from a higher gear to a lower gear. The engine has greater pulling power in lower gears than in higher ones. If you have slowed down to about 15 miles per hour in a 3-speed transmission and need to regain speed, you must downshift from 3rd to 2nd gear. Depress the clutch and shift to 2nd gear. Accelerate gradually and let the clutch out, pausing briefly at the friction point. Depress the clutch and shift back into 3rd gear when proper speed has been obtained. You should downshift for added control as when slowing down before entering a very sharp turn. Downshifting can also be used for extra pulling power when climbing long or steep hills. Downshifting just before the engine begins to labor. Don't wait until it has almost stalled. Using 2nd gear, going down a long or steep hill saves wear on the brakes, since the engine helps slow the car down. Let the clutch out after every downshift. Turning your vehicle. There are certain things to do when making a turn. 1. Decide in advance where you want to turn. Never make a last-minute decision to turn. It is too dangerous. 2. Look behind you and to both sides to see where other cars or people are to determine if it is safe to turn. A last-minute decision does not allow you to take time to take these steps. 3. Signal first and then move into the proper lane. Use directional signals if your vehicle is so equipped. If not, use hand signals. Some very safety-conscious drivers use both mechanical and hand signals for added protection. The faster the traffic is moving, the sooner you should get into the proper lane for the turn you plan to make. The law requires you to signal at least 100 feet before making any kind of turn. Slow down before reading a crosswalk at an intersection. Make certain no pedestrians are in the way before you turn. Keep a constant speed and follow pavement markings in making a turn. Always finish your turn in. Handling your vehicle and turning. First, let's describe the proper way to handle a car with a straight gear shift, since it involves more actions on the driver's part. In slowing down, chances are you will need to shift into second gear to maintain a constant speed. Some drivers get in the habit of leaving their left foot on the clutch or riding it as the turn is being made. Take your foot completely off the clutch, and after you have made your turn and are ready to return to your normal speed, then push the clutch and shift it to high gear. If your vehicle has an automatic transmission, then the action described above is not required. If it is important for anyone to make a turn of any kind, to keep both hands on the steering wheel at all times. Steer your car in the proper lane. A. Move to right lane. B. Begin turn signal 100 feet from the corner and start slowing down. C. Look both ways before starting turn. D. Keep as close as possible to right. Right turns. When you prepare to make a right turn, signal at least 100 feet ahead and approach the corner slowly, staying close to the right curb or the edge of the roadway. Watch for people getting out of cars and opening car doors. Remain close to the right curb or park cars at the curb while making your turn so that you will be in the right lane when the turn is completed. A. Look for the following cars and move close to the center line while giving signal. B. Begin turn signal 100 feet from the corner and start slowing down. C. Yield right of way and look both ways before starting turn. D. After completing turn, gradually move over to the right. Left turns. A left turn often takes more preparation than a right turn. You must think far enough ahead to get into the lane nearest the center of the road. Signal at least 100 feet ahead. Before turning, check traffic behind and in front of you. Make sure that no one is trying to pass you. Then, enter the intersection from the lane nearest to the center line, then turn into the lane nearest and to the right of the center line. Yield to pedestrians and oncoming traffic. On a 2-lane highway, the left turn should be made from as near the center line as possible, and then follow the steps in the preceding paragraph. Should the light turn red when you are in the intersection about to turn left, complete the whole turn when approaching traffic is cleared. Left turn 2 vehicles. When you are meeting another driver at an intersection and both of you want to make a left turn onto the same street but going in opposite directions, then each should pass the left of center of the intersections. It is illegal to make a left turn by keeping to the right of the center of the intersection unless impractical to do otherwise or traffic control devices require a different path. Signals for stops, lane changes, and turns. You must give a proper signal for any change in direction or lane for stopping by mechanical or hand signals. Make certain your mechanical signals are in good working order. The proper signal should always be used in driving from a curbside parallel parking space into the flow of traffic, and also in moving over into another lane or to pass another vehicle. The proper signals should be given when returning to the right lane. SC laws require that most types of vehicles to be equipped with signal lights and that drivers know the correct hand signals that apply to turning and stopping. They are 1. Left turn, hand and arm extended straight out. 2. Stop or decrease speed, hand and arm extended downward. 3. Right turn, hand and arm extended upward. These signals are recognized nationally. Extend your arm well out of the car window when giving signals. Turn signals must be given at least 100 feet in advance. It is illegal to flash turn signals. 1. On one side on a disabled vehicle. 2. as a do pass signal to other drivers. 3. Because the vehicle in front is going to turn. 4. On a parked vehicle unless preparing to start off. When driving, never put your hand out the window except to give a signal. Keep both hands on the steering wheel at all times and be prepared to stop in an emergency. No turns. You must never turn around while on or near any curb or hill. Your car or truck must be seen by other drivers approaching from either direction for at least 500 feet. Furthermore, when a turnaround or U-turn is not otherwise prohibited, you may not turn to proceed in the opposite direction unless the turn may be made safely and without interfering with other traffic. A. Give proper signal and stop the vehicle close to the right edge of the pavement. Check traffic by looking over your left shoulder to see traffic behind you, and cautiously turn the steering wheel all the way to the left, pull forward to the left. B. Back toward the opposite side of the street. C. Pull the car into proper lane. 3-point turn. Never turn around on a busy street. It is better to circle an entire city block. 1. Give proper signal and stop close to the right edge of the pavement. 2. Look over your left shoulder and check traffic behind you. Do not depend on your rear view mirror alone. Be sure the way is clear both ahead and behind. 3. Signal for a left turn. Then follow the steps in the illustration above. You will hear this type of turn referred to as a 3-point or Y turn, as shown in the illustration. When performing this maneuver, all approaching traffic will have the right of way. The 3-point turn must be performed without hitting the curb, driving off the road surface, or using a side street or driveway. When to use your horn. The horn of your vehicle should be used for warning purposes. Be on alert to sound your horn to get the attention of pedestrians and motorists. Stopping. You must stop. 1. At an intersection or railroad crossing controlled by a stop sign. 2. When a traffic officer orders you to stop. 3. When there is a yield sign on the road you are traveling and traffic on the intersecting road is too close for you to enter safely. Once the way is clear, then proceed. A yield sign may also be seen at a railroad crossing. In that instance, you must yield if there is an approaching train. 4. When coming from an alley, private driveway, or building in a residential or business district before driving across the sidewalk. 5. When there is a traffic signal and the light is red. Wait until the light is green before moving ahead. The green light, however, does not automatically give you the right of way. It is an invitation to proceed when the intersection is clear. Most collisions at traffic signals occur in the first few seconds of change. One driver fails to observe an error made by another. When a yellow light shows, following a green light, you should prepare to stop. If you are already in the intersection, clear the intersection as quickly as possible. 6. Where there is a flashing red light. 7. At a bridge span that is about to open for boat traffic. 8. When a pedestrian is using a white cane. 9. When approaching authorized emergency vehicle, fire truck, ambulance, police car, etc., gives visual and or audible signals after first driving your vehicle to the right side of the road as far as is practical. You should not stop when meeting a funeral procession, unless you are required to do so by a police officer, but continue driving with caution. 4-way or multi-way stops. The most common usage of stop signs is found at the intersection of two streets where traffic on one street must stop and traffic on the other street does not, thereby favoring the flow of traffic on the more important street. Another situation is at an intersection where all streets have stop signs. When this occurs, a sign reading 4-way or multi-way is added to the stop signs. A motorist arriving at the intersection must yield the right of way to motorists who arrive before him, waiting his turn to enter the intersection. If two motorists arrive at the same time, if on different streets, the driver on the left should yield to the driver on the right. Or if on the same street, a driver desiring to turn left should yield to the driver from the opposite direction. Following other cars. Rear-end crashes are very common at intersections and they can be avoided. The leading cause for these crashes is following other vehicles too closely. When following another vehicle on any street or highway, use a minimum of 3 to 4 second following interval. If any unusual conditions exist, such as rainy weather or increased traffic, add an additional second. To give yourself a 3 to 4 second following distance from the vehicle ahead of you, watch as the vehicle passes a stationary object such as a sign, pole, or tree. Count the seconds it takes you to reach that same point. 1001, 1002, 1003. If you pass the object before finish finish counting, you are following too closely. Always drive more slowly and allow more following distance when pavement is wet or icy or when driving in fog. Parking. When parking parallel, you must maneuver your vehicle so that it is not more than 18 inches from the curb. Be sure to center your car in the parking space, clearly between the lines. Study the diagram before attempting to parallel park. When leaving a parking place, signal. Use your mirrors and look over your shoulder to check traffic. Yield right of way. A. Car 2 pulls even with car 1. B. Car 2 maneuvers gently towards the space. C. Car 2 turns wheels sharply. D. Car 2 begins straightening wheels. E. Wheels on car 2 should be straight unless parking on a hill. Angle parking. This is perhaps the easiest type of parking. Your only task is to drive your car into the parking space, which has lines on both sides, without touching either line. This type of parking does present greater hazards when you're backing out. Parking on hills. When parking on hills, you should do the following. 1. Headed downhill, with or without the curb, turn the wheels to the right, except when parking left on a one-way street. 2. Headed uphill, with curb. Turn the wheels to the center of the street with the back in front of the tire against the curb. 3. Headed uphill without a curb. Turn wheels to the right so that the vehicle will roll off the road if the brakes fail. In each case, the parking brakes should be set, the vehicle placed in the proper gear of park, and the engine turned off. For a manual transmission, the car should be set in first or reverse. When leaving a parking space, signal. Use your mirrors and look over your shoulder to check traffic. Yield right of way. A. Downhill with or without a curb, turn wheels towards curb. B. Uphill with curb, turn wheels away from curb. C. Uphill without curb, turn wheels to the right. Yielding right of way. Although there are laws governing right of way, you should never demand your rights in these situations, putting the fact that you are right ahead of your own safety and the safety of others. As a matter of fact, the law does not give anyone the right of way. It states only who does not have it. A good safety rule is to slow down before entering an intersection. Look carefully to avoid a collision with other vehicles, and once in an intersection, move on quickly to clear the way. The term right-of-way refers to who shall wait and who shall yield at intersections or other places where two or more vehicles or pedestrians cannot all proceed at the same time. The following rules tell you when you must yield to others or when others should yield to you. 1. When you are approaching an intersection at which there are no traffic signals or signs, you must yield to the other driver if he has already entered the intersection. 2. If vehicles begin to enter an intersection at the same time and there are no traffic signs or signals, the vehicle on the left must yield to the driver on the right. 3. If you have entered an intersection and want to turn left, you must yield the right-of-way to approaching vehicles and any other vehicles already in the intersection. Make sure that no vehicle coming towards you is close enough for the turn to be dangerous. 4. If you have stopped for a traffic light at an intersection and want to turn left when the green light appears, you must yield to traffic that is waiting on the opposite side of the traffic light. Never rush ahead and make a left turn in front of oncoming traffic. You may turn right at a red traffic light, unless a sign prohibits it. However, you must come up to a complete stop first, and then cautiously enter the intersection. You must also yield to all pedestrians and other traffic lawfully using the intersection. 6. If you are entering a street or highway from a private or side road in a rural area, you must yield to vehicles on the street or highway. 7. You are required to yield to authorized emergency vehicles such as police cars, fire engines, and ambulances when these vehicles are giving a signal by a siren or flashing lights. Pull to the right edge of the highway and stop. 8. You must yield to pedestrians who have properly entered the intersection but who have not had time to clear it. This is one of the most frequent and serious driver violations in cities and towns. 9. You must yield the right-of-way to school children entering or leaving a school bus. Important lane passing skills. As we continue to build more multi-lane highways, it is more important than ever to know the proper lanes for normal driving and how to safely change from one lane to another. There are different rules for passing other vehicles for two-lane, multi-lane, and interstate driving. 1. On a two-lane road, it is necessary that you stay in your proper lane. To straddle the center line or drive in the oncoming traffic lane can virtually guarantee a collision. Passing on a two-lane road must be done only when you have a clear view well enough ahead of you to make certain that you can safely pass without meeting an oncoming vehicle. A solid yellow line in your lane tells you it is dangerous and illegal to pass. 2. On a highway of 4 or more lanes, straddling a lane may not only be dangerous and discourteous, but is also illegal. You may be blocking traffic behind you. Official signs or traffic lights may direct you in a certain lane. Of course, you must always obey these signals unless a law enforcement officer directs you to do otherwise. On conventional highways, not interstates, that have grass or concrete medians separating opposing traffic, you must cross only at the paved spaces provided for this purpose. It is illegal to cross such a median at any other place. Paved medians that are surfaced with stone or pavement similar to the traveled lanes and outlines with painted lines may be crossed unless prohibited by a sign. It is illegal to cross the median of interstates at any place. You must use an interchange. If you go past your turnoff, you must keep going until you reach the next exit. Then, taking that, you can return to where you originally wanted to exit. On a highway with 4 or more lanes, slower traffic should always use the outside lane, closest to the shoulder. Traffic should use the 2 right-hand lanes except when passing. Where traffic is heavy on all lanes, it is better to stay in your lane and move along at the speed of other traffic, not exceeding the speed limit. Avoid the dangerous practice of unnecessary lane switching. Passing other vehicles. On a 2-lane road, where opposing traffic meets without any type of protection barrier, passing requires more thought, action, and caution. After you have made certain that there is no oncoming traffic, 1. Look into the rear view mirror and your outside mirror to make certain there are no vehicles attempting to pass you. 2. Turn your head quickly to the left, checking the blind spot over your left shoulder. 3. When you are sure that all of these are clear, observe the vehicle you are preparing to pass and make certain he is staying in his lane. 4. Give your left turn signal. 5. Quickly check again to be sure there is no oncoming traffic. Pull over the center line as you approach the other vehicle. Then, go quickly around the vehicle you are passing. And finally, if you need to exceed the speed limit to pass, you should not pass. Wait until you can see both headlights of the other car in your rear view mirror and turn your head to check the blind spots before returning to the right lane. Be sure to give a right turn signal before moving back into the right lane. Never cut in on the driver you have just passed. No matter what kind of road, street, or highway, always observe carefully what other motorists in the area are doing when you are passing. Good drivers are constantly on the lookout for unexpected actions of other drivers and pedestrians. A particularly important thing to watch for is any indication that the driver is not aware that you are passing him. Signal and then make certain he knows your intentions. On a 4-lane highway, slower traffic should travel in the right lane, as in A and B. A motorist may pass another car or simply remain center line in lane C, provided he/she is the fastest moving vehicle. When broken yellow lines separate the lanes of traffic on a 2-lane highway, you can pass when there is no oncoming traffic. When a solid yellow line appears on your left side of the center line, illustration A, do not pass. When there are 2 solid yellow lines, illustration B, passing is not permitted in either direction. Passing on right. In most cases, you pass another vehicle by moving to the left. There are times, however, when it is permissible to pass a vehicle on the right. 1. When the other vehicle is making a left turn and there is room on the paved portion of the roadway. 2. On a street or road where the way is wide enough and clear ahead, with no parked cars obstructing the way or hiding pedestrians, and where the pavement is wide enough for 2 or more lanes of traffic in the same direction. Use caution and observe what other drivers and pedestrians are doing so that any abrupt action on their part will not catch you unaware. Passing on the right is permissible only when movement can be made safely and without driving off the roadway. When being passed. When a driver is passing you, be on guard so that you may protect yourself from any of his potentially unsafe actions. Maintain speed and position when being passed. Unless the driver must return to your lane because of an oncoming car, then slow down when he speeds up or speed up if he slows down. When not to pass. It is illegal to drive to the left of center to pass a vehicle in the following places. 1. On a hill or a curve, or at any other place where you cannot see far enough ahead to pass safely. According to the law, you must have a clear passing distance so that you can pull back into the right lane at least 200 feet before meeting an oncoming vehicle. 2. At a street crossing or highway intersection. 3. At any railroad crossing. 4. When meeting another vehicle close enough to constitute a hazard. 5. Where a signal tells you not to pass. 6. When a vehicle in front of you has stopped to let a pedestrian cross, even if the pedestrian is crossing illegally. 7. In an area where road construction or maintenance work is underway and passing would be hazardous to the road workers, to you or the other motorists. 8. When a solid yellow line is in your lane. A. Do not pass on a hill. B. Do not pass at an intersection. C. Do not pass within 100 feet of a bridge or tunnel when the view is obscured. D. Do not pass on a curve. E. Do not pass near railroad crossings. F. Do not pass when there is oncoming traffic. Interstate driving. Interstates require sharp driving skills along with more preparation in order to drive safely. The basic feature of an interstate is that access to it is controlled. You can get on or off only at special places known as interchanges. Entering an interstate. The entrance ramp is a short one-way road that leads to the interstate. Once on the entrance ramp, you should begin checking traffic on the interstate. Check traffic by using your rear view mirror and outside mirror as well as quickly checking over your shoulder for the blind spot. Watch the vehicle in front to be sure it is not stopping on the entrance ramps. Vehicles on the interstate have the right of way, but courteous drivers will permit you to move into the interstate traffic. From the entrance ramp, you should move into the acceleration lane. This is the lane that runs alongside the main roadway. On the acceleration lane, you can pace your speed to the speed of interstate traffic. When you find a large enough gap between vehicles, you should move into the gap as smoothly as possible. Entering highway. Using the proper signal, carefully come down the entrance ramp, moving onto the acceleration lane. Watch for a gap in the traffic and ease into that gap so that you do not have to stop on the entrance ramp or acceleration lane. You should not come to a full stop on either the entrance ramp or the acceleration lane. Once onto the interstate, drive with the flow of traffic as much as possible, but do not exceed the speed limits. Driving on the interstate. Posted speeds on these roads are good for driving conditions. When the weather changes, fog, rain, snow, etc., you must slow down and drive at a speed safe for conditions. The most important thing is to drive with the flow of traffic at all times, but do not exceed the posted speed limits. Know your lanes. Driving in the proper lane on an interstate is a must for safety. The extreme right lane is usually for slower speeds and also for entering and leaving the interstate. The other lanes are usually for motorists who want to drive and maintain the posted speed limit. However, if another vehicle overtakes you from the rear, you should pull over to allow him to pass. Changing lanes. Before changing lanes to pass, carefully check all traffic conditions around you. Use your rear view and outside mirrors and quickly check over your left shoulder for the blind spot. At interstate speeds, vehicles can quickly come up on you from behind, so change lanes with care, signaling your intention to change lanes at least 100 feet in advance. Leaving highway. Get into right lane. Signal your intentions. Once in the deceleration lane, slow down gradually so as to be at the exit speed when the exit is reached. Motorists who mistakenly drive past an exit should never stop on an interstate, but should go on to the next exit and come back to the exit they missed. Driving too slowly. The slowest speed you may normally travel on an interstate is posted. Sometimes, especially when the weather is good and traffic is light, even this can be too slow. Most important, drive with the flow of traffic as long as the traffic is not exceeding the posted speed limit. Stay well behind. With high-speed traffic, it is extremely important to stay well behind the vehicle in front of you. Of course, in some traffic congestion, this is not always possible. But remember, the faster the speed, the longer it takes to stop when you must react to other drivers' unexpected moves. Rush hour driving. This is sometimes a very frustrating type of driving. One little fender bender collision can clog the interstate for miles. If you are involved in such a collision and your vehicle is dangerously obstructing traffic, move your vehicle to a safer position of the highway if possible, so that other traffic can resume its normal speed. Also, if you are traveling past a collision scene, don't stop or slow down to a crawl to see what is happening. Often curiosity seekers are the biggest offenders in clogging rush hour traffic. Keep your cool in rush hour traffic. When emergencies occur, If you have trouble and must stop, drive entirely off the traveled portion of the interstate and give a signal that you are having difficulty. Get out of your vehicle on the right side if at all possible. Otherwise, a passing motorist may not see you in time to stop. If you have one, tie a white cloth to the left door handle of your vehicle. Raise the hood to indicate trouble. Since there is always a possibility that you may have to make an emergency stop, it's a good idea to carry a flare or flashing light in the trunk of your vehicle. If you use a flare, place it about 75 feet behind your vehicle to warn other traffic. One of the major reasons for planning your trip ahead is to know exactly where you want to leave the interstate. This move has to be planned well in advance. When you see this sign indicating that your exit point is nearing, begin preparing for it. Signal and move into the correct exit lane as soon as it is reached. Once you are in the deceleration lane, reduce your speed gradually in order to be at the exit speed. Do not drop your speed below the minimum speed while in the main traveled portion of the highway. Some exits are made from the extreme left lane. Posted speed limits are usually based on the design of the particular exit ramp. Tips for interstate driving. When entering an interstate, increase your speed while in the acceleration lane up to a speed that will permit you to move into a gap between vehicles. 2. Yield to other cars on the interstate, but try not to bring your vehicle to a complete stop. 3. Backing on an interstate is illegal, dangerous, and can cause a serious collision. 4. After leaving the interstate, be sure to adjust your speed downward for other types of highways. Continue to check your speedometer closely. Primary highway driving. Defensive driving is particularly important on the primary highways. The majority of traffic collisions and deaths occur on the state's primary highways when the weather is good and the roads are dry. These highways are usually in good condition. Many of them have 4 or more lanes, and it seems that since danger is not apparent, many motorists are lulled into a false sense of security and have lapses that bring about collisions. It is important to stay alert on these highways. Remember that even though they may have 4 or more lanes, unlike the interstates, they do not have controlled access. That means a vehicle could dart in front of you from an intersecting street, a place of business, a residence behind a parked vehicle, and so forth. Keep your eyes moving and keep your mind alert. Let anticipation be your key word. Always be ready to react to the unexpected. Secondary road driving. Because many of our secondary roads do not carry heavy traffic, drivers may often be lulled into a sense of false security on these roads. You may go for miles and not see a vehicle, and you begin to think that you have the road to yourself. Then suddenly there's a crossroad ahead where another vehicle is the right of way, and you have not given yourself enough time to stop. Defensive driving is a must on these roads, just like any other highway in South Carolina. Proper method of braking. Although it may seem that applying the brakes of a vehicle is a simple thing, it is not. The most common mistake that a person learning to drive makes is braking too hard, causing the vehicle to jerk to a stop. The task is to learn to apply the brakes gently with increasing pressure until the vehicle comes to a gradual and smooth stop. Braking, like all other practical tasks, is in the art of the driving, improves with patience and serious practice. Once the skill is learned, you will be able to stop your vehicle as quickly or as gradually as you choose when driving at a proper speed. Use your right foot for both braking and accelerating your vehicle.
Trucks and recreational vehicles. Truck class licenses. South Carolina issues licenses as proof that you've been examined and are qualified to operate a particular type of vehicle. You must be at least 18 years of age to apply for one of the following license. Commercial, Class A. Any combination of vehicles with a GCWR of 26,001 or more pounds, provided that the GVWR of the vehicle is being towed in excess of 10,000 pounds. Class B. Any single vehicle with a GVWR of 26,001 or more pounds, or any such vehicle towing a vehicle not in excess of 10,000 pounds, GVWR. Class C. Any single vehicle or combination of vehicles that does not meet the definitions of Class A or B, but either is designed to transport 16 or more passengers, including the driver, or is placarded for hazardous materials. For more information about commercial driver's license, please see the South Carolina Commercial Driver's License Manual. Non-commercial. Class E. allows the same driving privileges as Class D, regular passenger vehicle, and Class G, moped licenses, plus single unit vehicles weighing over 26,000 pounds and gross weight that do not meet the definition Class A or B or C. Class F allows the operation of all Class D, E, and G vehicles, plus all other combinations of vehicles with a gross vehicle weight in excess of 26,000 pounds that do not meet the definition of Class A, B, and C. The information in this section applies for Class E and F licenses, which do not allow a driver to operate a commercial motor vehicle. If you plan to operate a motorhome that weighs more than 26,000 pounds GVW, you must obtain a Class E license. If you operate a motorhome that weighs more than 26,000 pounds and tow a trailer or other vehicle, you must have a Class F license. You may take the Class E and F knowledge test at any SC DMV office. Due to space required for a Class E or F skills test, these tests must be taken at one of the 33 SC DMV offices that offer the commercial driver license testing. During the basic skills portion of the Class F test, motorhome operators will be allowed to disconnect the towed vehicle. However, the towed vehicle must be reconnected for the road test portion of the skills test. The licensing procedure. The basic requirements for obtaining a non-commercial Class E or F driver's license are as follows. Number 1. You must pass an eye examination. Number 2. You must be physically and mentally able to drive. Number 3. You must understand the meaning of the different traffic signs, signals, and pavement markings. 4. You must have your vehicle in good condition. 5. You must know and understand how to safely maneuver your vehicle on the streets and highways. 6. You must show you can respect the rights of other drivers, pedestrians, motorcyclists, and bicyclists who share the road with you. 7. You must surrender your beginner's permit or current driver's license upon successful completion of the driving test. 8. You must be at least 18 years of age. 9. You will need to study all the material in this guide except the motorcycle and moped sections in order to pass the test. Driving requirements. Some of the requirements of the driving test on which you will be graded are: good posture. You will be expected to maintain good posture during your examination. Your ability to operate a vehicle properly and safely will depend in part on your seat adjustment. Your seat must be positioned so that you can adjust the mirrors for good visibility, reach the various foot pedals, and have a controlled grip on the steering wheel. Mirrors. Mirror use is vital. While driving a large vehicle, you should check your mirrors constantly to be aware of the traffic conditions around you at all times. Starting from a park position, you must select the proper gear to operate the clutch smoothly. Signal your intentions and check your mirrors before leaving the curb area. Clutch operations. You must show familiarity and smoothness in operations. Gears. You must select the proper gear and gear pattern and shift without clashing, forcing, or snapping. Braking. You must be able to stop your vehicle smoothly without a jerk or rebound at the end of the stop. Following. You must keep a safe distance between the vehicle ahead of you in case it should make a sudden stop. Passing. You must be able to pass legally and safely without interfering with other traffic. Lane position. You must keep your vehicle in the proper lane without veering across the center line or off the right side of the pavement. Intersection. You must maintain the proper safe speed, looking in both directions, and be prepared to stop if a traffic light on the street fails to stop. Turning. You must give proper signals and be in a proper lane position at the proper speed when turning. Stop line. Stopping at a stop line will test your ability to judge the location of the front bumper so that you would not run over the crosswalks and other areas where stops are required. The serpentine. You must be able to maneuver in and out of tight places. Backing. You must be able to back your vehicle slowly for a distance of 100 feet as straight and smoothly as possible, and do demonstrate the use of mirrors while doing so. Alley dock backing. In this simulated maneuver of backing into a loading platform, you must back your vehicle in a continuous movement into an area 90 degrees from the area backed from. Using horn. Use the horn only when necessary to warn pedestrians, motorcyclists, bicyclists, or others who share the road with you. You should use your horn also when backing. Stopping and starting on a grade. When a vehicle is parked, the parking brakes must be set and the transmission placed in reverse or the lowest forward gear. If there is a curb, the front wheels should be turned toward the curb in a downgrade or level surface and be turned away from the curb when parking on an upgrade. If the steepness of the grade or other factors increase the danger of a runaway vehicle, you should use both chock blocks. Never park on a steep grade unless absolutely necessary. Standard road driving. Normal on-road driving practice. Proper driving techniques. Pre-trip inspection. Before the driving demonstration begins, the examiner, with your assistance, will inspect the vehicle and its equipment. You should check your vehicle before appearing at the examining station to make sure all equipment is operating properly. Drivers should inspect their vehicles before each trip. The driver is responsible for making sure that the truck is in safe condition. Follow these procedures. Step 1. The initial vehicle check. Enter cab using the 3-point method for safety, having 1 foot in both hands on the truck at all times, or 2 feet in one hand. 1. Make sure your vehicle is secured properly. 2. Depress the clutch and place the gear shift in neutral. 3. Start engine and check oil pressure gauge for proper pressure, ammeter, the horn, windshield wipers, engine for unusual noises, and air pressure. With the engine running, build air pressure to 100 to 125 psi. Shut off engine, release tractor protection valve and push parking brake in. Fully depress brake pedal, hold for 1 minute. Pressure loss should not exceed 3 psi for a single vehicle. 4 psi in combination unit. Begin fanning brakes, low air warning device, buzzer light flag should activate before air pressure drops below 60 psi. Continue fanning brakes approximately 40 psi. The tractor protection valve and the parking brake should close. If vehicle fails air brake check, the test will be discontinued. In the event that the vehicle is equipped with a vacuum or hydraulic brakes, depress the brake pedal and hold it down. If brake pressure will not hold, the test will be discontinued. Step 2. Outside the vehicle. Set the parking brakes, turn on all lights, leave the cab and begin your equipment inspection. Start at the left front wheel and proceed around in a counterclockwise direction. 1. Lights and reflectors should be clear. 2. Check tires for wears and cuts to ensure proper inflation. 3. Check the wheels for missing lug nuts. 4. Make sure the trailer landing gear is raised and the handle is secure. 5. Ensure that the fifth wheel jaws and the release lever are in the locked position. 6. Check brake lines for leaks and wear, and electric lines for excessive wear. 7. On combination units, check lights and brake connections between power unit and trailer by hand to make sure of tightness. 8. Check emergency warning equipment. You should have 3 devices. 9. Check the general overall vehicle appearance. Are rear doors closed? Are there any loose fenders, torn metal, etc., exposed enough to be hazardous? 10. Check the headlights, both upper and lower beams, for directional signals, stoplights, emergency flashers. For these operations, you will re-enter the cab. The examiner will check these from the outside. Step 3. Inside the vehicle. 1. Adjust the seat and then the mirrors. 2. With trailer brakes on, put the gear shift lever in the lowest forward gear, release the parking brake on the tractor, and by gently releasing the clutch, check the coupling between the tractor and the trailer. This procedure will also check the trailer brake. Check the tractor protection valve. 3. After checking the coupling between the tractor and the trailer, release the trailer brakes. Then release the clutch pedal gently. With the vehicle in motion, check the foot brake. Starting the engine. Engage the parking brake. Place the transmission in neutral, adjust the choke, and depress the clutch pedal. 2. Turn on the ignition and operate the starter. 3. Control the engine with the foot throttle until it's running smoothly. 4. When the engine is running smoothly, set the hand throttle at a fast idle and allow the engine to warm up before attempting to move the vehicle. 5. On air brake vehicles, the air pressure gauge should register sufficient pressure before the vehicle is moved. The audible warning buzzer must have stopped and/or the warning light must be off. Putting the vehicle in motion. On a combination vehicle, test the hookup in one of the following ways before attempting to move the vehicle. Place the transmission in reverse, partially engage the clutch, and speed up the engine to make the power unit go backward smoothly until the fifth wheel jaws engage the kingpin. Apply the trailer brakes and pull forward to see if the fifth wheel is locked. Then check visually to see if it is secure. 2. Disengage the clutch and place the transmission in the lowest forward gear. If the vehicle is equipped with a trailer hand control, pull it down to set the trailer brakes to keep the unit from rolling. If there is no hand control, leave the trailer parking brake set. When starting, gradually release the clutch while releasing the hand control valve or the parking brake as the clutch engages. At the same time, press the accelerator gradually to prevent stalling and move the load. Do not ride the clutch when it is finally engaged and the vehicle is in motion. 3. A foot brake must be checked immediately after the vehicle is moving, within at least 50 feet during the road test. Shifting up through the gears. In each gear, sufficient speed must be built to avoid lugging the engine, so that the gear and speed must be sufficient so that the engine will not be lugged when the next higher gear is reached. Double clutching may be used on manually shift truck transmissions, except synchro mesh transitions. Shifting is faster and smoother when this procedure of depressing the clutch twice with each change of gears is used. Shifting down. Be alert to changing conditions that may require a reduction of speed and shifting down a gear. Do not wait until the engine starts lugging before shifting down. For dangerous downgrades, the gears should be downshifted to make use of engine braking. A good driver will downshift before passing the crest of a hill, since it is dangerous to downshift past this point. Missing a gear can be dangerous. If your brakes fail on a level road, you should shift to a lower gear and use engine compression to assist you in stopping the vehicle. Be aware of your truck's measurements to avoid surprises. Passing. Passing should be attempted only when you have clear and adequate space ahead to complete the pass without racing and without risk to yourself or the vehicle being passed. 2. A signal must be given 100 feet before pulling out to pass. Signal before returning to the right-hand lane when changing lanes. 3. Return to your lane when you can see both headlights of the vehicle being passed in your side view mirror. 4. On multiple lane highways, do not pass if you will block faster traffic overtaking from the rear. Give proper signal 100 feet or more before pulling out to pass. Give proper signal before returning to the right-hand lane. Being passed. When being passed by another vehicle, keep well to the right side, maintain your speed, and, if necessary, reduce speed to facilitate safe passing. Never speed up to prevent another driver from passing. 2. Do not signal the driver of an overtaking vehicle that is safe to pass. This is dangerous practice and is prohibited by the U.S. Department of Transportation. To give such signal transfers the part of the responsibility for safe passing from overtaking the driver to yourself. If a collision occurs after you have given a signal, you could be held liable for any damages. 3. Be alert for the driver who tries to pass an unsafe place. Don't try to block a passer and be ready to do anything that may be necessary to avoid being involved in a collision. 4. At night, dim your lights after being passed to avoid creating a glare in the other driver's mirror. Meeting other vehicles. Always keep to the far right when meeting any oncoming traffic. At night, dim your headlights 500 feet from any oncoming vehicle, regardless of any action its driver may take. 2. If you see a vehicle approaching on your side of the road, slow down and pull as far to the right as safely possible, and stop. Never pull to the left in an attempt to avoid an oncoming vehicle in your lane. 3. Always sound your horn to warn the driver ahead when you are passing. Headlight signals alone are not a legal warning and must not be used as such. 4. When it is safe, return to the right-hand lane. 5. Never attempt to pass a vehicle when approaching the top of a hill, curve, intersection, side road, bridge, railroad crossing, or any place where you do not have a clear view of the road ahead. Make sure you can see the traffic approaching from the side. 6. Standing buses must be passed in accordance with local traffic regulations. 7. Be alert for school buses and ready to make a safe stop if necessary. You must stop for a stop school bus with flashing lights that is loading or unloading passengers. This is required by law whether you are meeting the bus, traveling behind it under the following conditions. On any 2-lane highway, on any 4-lane or multi-lane highway when only traveling behind a school bus, passing a school bus that has red or amber signals flashing. 8. Do not attempt to pass unless there is sufficient difference between your speed and the speed of the slower vehicles so that you can pass without delay. 9. Do not attempt to pass more than one vehicle at a time. If you try to pass a line of traffic, you may find yourself in a position where you cannot return to the right lane should the need arise. 10. On multiple lane highways, take care not to pass when you block fast traffic overtaking from the rear. On highways with 3 or more lanes of traffic in the same direction, use only the 2 right-hand lanes unless passing or when making a legally permitted left turn. Drivers are required to dim headlights 500 feet from any approaching vehicle, 200 feet from any vehicle you are approaching from the rear. Use of mirrors. Professional driver watches his mirrors nearly as much as he watches the road. Vision is restricted when using mirrors. As a precaution, you should always check for traffic with and without mirrors. 2. Proper adjustment of mirrors is essential to safe driving. To adjust mirrors accurately on a combination unit, the vehicle must be in a straight line. The driver must be in a normal position behind the steering wheel while making adjustments. Use of brakes. 1. Allow sufficient difference to avoid the need for sudden stops. 2. Apply brakes with steady pressure at the beginning of a stop and then gradually release as the vehicle slows down. 3. Do not fan brakes except on slippery pavement. Fanning brakes on a long downgrade may reduce air pressure below the minimum pressure needed for proper brake operation. 4. Avoid excessive use of brakes on long downgrades. Use engine compression as the principal means of controlling speed on long downgrades and in the mountains. Yielding right-of-way. The driver of a vehicle must never demand right-of-way. When approaching an intersection, all drivers must exercise due care. The law does not give anyone right-of-way over another. It states you only who should yield. Following other drivers. Drivers must make a habit of never driving too closely behind other vehicles. Allow enough space between you and the vehicle ahead so that you can stop easily and safely in an emergency. Always keep in mind the adverse conditions such as weather and roads. Traffic conditions must require more cautious driving. Leave enough space between you and the vehicle ahead to allow faster traffic to pass you and return to the right lane. Whenever conditions permit, a truck should not follow another truck or motor vehicle pulling another motor vehicle closer than 300 feet. At night, the following distance is within 200 feet that the law requires that you dim your headlights. Routine driving test. Many of the routine driving tasks that you face in driving a truck or recreational vehicle will be similar to driving a car. For the sake of all road users, it is important to be a defensive driver when driving any vehicle. Curves. Maneuvering around curves and turns in trucks, recreational vehicles requires more skill and care than in cars. Curves and turns must always be executed at a reduced speed, consistent with the available sight distance and sharpness of the curve or turn and other prevailing road and traffic conditions. Illustration A shows proper execution for taking a left curve and B, a right curve. On a sharp or right curves, you must lead the turning arc of the front wheels, which is keeping the sharpness of the curve and the amount of off-track your vehicle. On a curve to the right, you must keep your front wheels close to the center line to prevent dropping your rear wheels off the pavement or breaking the pavement shoulders. On a curve to the left, You must keep your front wheels close to the right edge of the pavement to prevent your rear wheel from crossing into other traffic lane. When entering a curve, you must make sure that the speed of your vehicle is slow enough for you to retain control of the curve. If you apply your brakes in a curve, your vehicle may skid or jackknife. You may gradually accelerate on a curve only after you have passed the midpoint of the curve. You must enter a curve at a speed that doesn't require braking. Failure to do so greatly increases the chance of rolling out, skidding, or jackknifing. Different turning characteristics. The difference between the turning characteristic of a single unit vehicle and a tractor, semi-trailer, or combination unit are shown in illustrations A and B. In illustration A, note the rear wheels of the truck follow a shorter path than the front wheels. In illustration B, note that the rear wheels of the tractor follow a shorter path than the front wheels of the tractor in turning corner shown in illustration A. The rear wheels of a semi-trailer or combination unit follow a still shorter path cutting this corner. Drivers must allow for off-tracking of the wheels. The longer the vehicle or combination, the greater the off-track. Turns. 1. Know where you want to turn ahead of time. Never make a last-minute decision. Check both mirrors for other vehicles and pedestrians to determine if it is safe. 2. It is important to signal your intentions 100 feet before turning. Be sure your signal light is off after completing the turn. Failure to do so tends to create confusion for other drivers. 3. There will be times when faster moving traffic will require you to move into the proper lane much sooner than you ordinarily would in order to make a safe turn. 4. Be sure to follow the pavement markings when possible and finish your turn in the proper lane. 5. A major concern while turning will be your off-track. On any turn, the rear wheels will follow a shorter path than the front wheels. The illustration will give you a clear understanding of your off-tracking position. 6. When executing a right turn, be sure your rear wheels do not run up and over the curb. In illustration A, note the rear wheels of the single unit vehicle follow a shorter path than the front wheels. In illustration B, notice the rear wheels of the trailer follow a shorter path than the front wheels of the tractor. Right turns. 1. Single unit vehicles or buses must signal 100 feet before the turn and enter the turn as near to the right curb as possible. Operators of large vehicles must bear in mind that the off-track of the rear wheels will follow a shorter path than the front wheels. You must allow for this on all turns so that your vehicle does not strike another vehicle or stationary object. Be careful about swinging wide to make a right turn. There is a danger that some other driver will try to make a pass on the right. If you must make a wide turn, the swing should be made wide into the street you are entering. 2. Combination vehicles follow the same procedure in turning as a single unit vehicle, except the off-track will take a shorter path while turning and the swing out must be greater. A hazard of the swing out is the possibility of a vehicle passing on the right. There will be times when you'll have to stop and allow other vehicles to clear the lanes that you're about to enter. The illustration shows the correct procedure for making a right-hand turn with a single unit vehicle. The illustration shows how to make a right turn with a tractor semi-trailer. If the turn is sharp or difficult, swing out into the street you're about to enter. Watch the off-track to avoid running over the curb. The illustration is a correct procedure for making a left-hand turn with a tractor semi-trailer. The procedure is the same with a single unit vehicle. Left turns. Slow down when making a left turn. You must get into the lane nearest to the center line. Make sure no one is attempting to pass you. Look for traffic approaching towards you and to the left and right. Your vehicle should be just to the right of the center line as you make your left-hand turn. Watch your off-track while you are turning. Backing. A major difficulty for many truck drivers is backing correctly. You must back without interfering with other traffic. It's a good idea to park safely and walk back to inspect your proposed backing route. If you are outside mirrors, and if possible, have someone stand to the rear right side of the truck while backing to give you directions and assure that you're backing safely. Remember that you are responsible for safe backing, even with a helper. 1. Steering, backing. On a single unit, you must steer the vehicle in the direction in which you wish to move the back end of the vehicle. Steering, backing. Number 2. A combination vehicle will steer the opposite to the intended direction to the rear side of the trailer. The rear axle of the tractor acts as the front axle of the semi-trailer and, in effect, steers the semi-trailer. The tractor must follow an S-shaped course. A. Steering, backing with a single unit vehicle. B. Steering, backing with a tractor semi-trailer. C. Blind side, view side. When driving a semi-trailer or single unit trucks, you can back safely on your own, but if you're backing to the blind side, have someone outside to guide you. When backing, you have someone to guide you when possible. Hooking up, unhooking requirements. The procedure for hooking up and unhooking tractor semi-trailers combinations as follows. Coupling. 1. Be sure the jaws of the fifth wheel coupling device are fully opened and the fifth wheel is tilted back so the hookup can be made without damage. Back slowly and as straight as possible. 2. Line up the kingpin with the fifth wheel slot. Be certain the trailer heights are correct. Back straight and slow. 3. Stop the tractor just as the fifth wheel makes contact with the trailer. 4. Secure the tractor and check to see if the trailer is secured against movement. 5. Connect the brake lines and electrical connections. 6. Check the tractor trailer brakes with the hand valve and reopen the valve for backing. 7. Back under the trailer without rolling forward. 8. Check the coupling by pulling the tractor forward. 9. Secure the tractor and release the hand valve. 10. Check the coupling from underneath the trailer. 11. Raise the trailer supports and secure the handle in a low range position. Uncoupling. Secure the tractor and block the semi-trailer, if necessary. 2. Place the tractor protection valve in the emergency position. 3. Lower the trailer supports and secure the handle. 4. Disconnect the emergency airline first. 5. Disconnect the electrical connector and the service air lines. 6. Pull the fifth wheel hook and lock handle. 7. Pull ahead gradually to allow the trailer landing gear to take the load gradually. 8. Secure the tractor and check the trailer supports. Trailers left parked should have wheels chalked to prevent a rollaway. Air pressure in the trailer air tank will bleed down in proportion to the amount of leakage in the trailer system. If the trailer tank is drained, the trailer brakes will release. If the trailer is equipped with spring brakes, the brakes will remain in the applied position when the air pressure in the system is released. Always take time to ensure your vehicle is properly coupled. By following the proper procedures and making frequent safety checks, you can greatly lessen the chances of a breakaway. Specific maneuvers required during the test. The examiner will ask you to perform certain driving maneuvers, including the stop line, to test your ability to judge the position of the front bumper with respect to a fixed line. This maneuver simulates the conditions encountered in stopping at a marked crosswalk or a situation when the driver must pull forward as far as possible in close quarters without touching a stationary object or vehicle. Straight line backing, to test your ability to keep the truck under control while moving backwards with the use of mirrors. When backing a combination unit, keep the left rear corner of the trailer inside at all times. The vehicle must be backed slowly, smoothly, and as straight as possible. The serpentine, to test your ability to maneuver your vehicle in and out of tight places. This maneuver simulates conditions that might be encountered when disabled or wrecked vehicles partially block the highway, or negotiating detours in heavy traffic or other situations. Alley docking. Test your ability to back your vehicle into a narrow space and stop with the rear of the vehicle within a specific distance of the back limits of the space. This would be similar to backing to a dock or shipping platform between two other vehicles from a street yard or area with limited space. Backing and alley docking. Specific situations, extra precautions. If you're operating on a bus, the vehicle with extra width or length of a vehicle carrying a heavy load, you must have special responsibilities and take extra precautions. 1. Buses may create hazardous when dropping off or loading passengers, as well as when moving in and out of traffic. Therefore, you must be constantly alert as a bus driver, since you are responsible for other people. 2. Because of their width, single-unit vehicles have a blind spot of 50 feet or more directly behind them. Be careful when shifting lanes or turning to avoid hitting other vehicles. 3. Single-unit and double-unit vehicles with a loading extending over the maximum length must have a special permit, and a red flag must be attached to the end of the load. Off-street maneuvers. Total length 250 feet. Width 50 feet. Alley width 12 feet. Alley length 25 feet. Each circle represents a cone with a stanchion and a flag. 4. A driver must always be aware of the possibility of loads shifting and take the necessary action to prevent this from occurring. Drivers should not operate in vehicle when cargo is properly balanced and secured. 5. Vehicles with heavy loads often create a traffic hazard when entering a street or highway because they must enter so slowly. Be sure you have sufficient time to move into the line of approaching traffic and give the necessary signal. 6. When approaching an overpass, you should be sure that there is enough clearance between the vehicle and the overpass. 7. On a short entrance to an interstate, when your vehicle is heavily loaded and you must look for enough space in traffic to allow for a smooth entrance onto the interstate. When approaching a green traffic light, you should be alert and prepared to make a smooth stop. Stopping and parking. 1. Stopping or parking on the open highway should be avoided. Stopping on the shoulder area of a high-speed, limited access highway is particularly dangerous, and except in cases of emergency is prohibited by law. Never stop just over the crest of a hill or on a curve. 2. When it is necessary to park outside of a business or residential district, pull your unit as far to the right off the travel portion of the roadway as it is safely possible. You should never leave your truck parked without making sure it cannot be moved. State law requires that you move your vehicle clear of the travel portion of the roadway to allow free passage of other vehicles. Parking. Never park your vehicle in a position where it obscures the driver's view as he attempts to enter a street or highway from a driveway, truck stop, or other place. A. Proper parking. B. Improper parking. Even when stopping for emergencies, pull your vehicle safely as far from the roadway as possible. On interstates or other limited access highways, use the emergency parking lane, keeping your vehicle entirely off the main roadway. C. 3 ways of parking. When parking on a hill, use chalk blocks to reduce the chances of a runaway vehicle. Recommended placements of blocks indicate in red. Unsafe parking. Never park your vehicle in such a way that it blocks another driver's view as he attempts to enter a street or highway from a driveway, truck stop, or other place. Emergency stops and warning signals. When your vehicle is disabled and you cannot move it off the travel portion of a roadway, you must put it out an emergency signals as shown on the next page. Emergency warning signals may be red flags, pot torches, reflector flares, reflective triangles, red electric lanterns, or fuses. When necessary to stop in the daytime, pull out red flags or reflective triangles as follows. 1. Place a warning device at least 100 feet but not more place 500 feet in the center of the lane, both in front of and behind the stopped vehicle. 2. On a divided highway or one-way roadway, place one warning device at least 200 feet from the rear stopped vehicle and one a distance of 100 feet to the rear in the center of the lane. When visibility is restricted to less than 500 feet due to fog or similar conditions, use the signals specified for night use. When necessary to stop at night, immediately turn on your four-way flashers to make the turn signals on both sides of your vehicles flash simultaneously and the front and rear, and then place reflective triangles, reflective flares, red electric lanterns, or fuses as follows. 1. On a straightaway, place with one warning device on the traffic side 10 feet to the rear of the vehicle.
Wrong place, 100 feet, 10 feet from vehicle, 100 feet. Approaching curve, 100 feet, 10 feet from vehicle, 500 feet. Beyond curve, 500 feet, 10 feet from vehicle, 100 feet. Correct placement of warning devices when you are forced to stop your vehicle in an emergency may mean saving your life or the life of another motorist. 2. Next, a warning device at least 100 feet behind the stopped vehicle in the center of the lane. 3. Another warning device 100 feet ahead of the stopped vehicle in the center of the lane. 4. One additional warning device, if available, on the traffic side 10 feet from the front of the vehicle. 5. On a divided highway or one-way roadway, one signal 200 feet and one 100 feet to the rear, in the center of the lane, and one at the traffic side of the vehicle 10 feet to the rear. Straightway, 100 feet, 10 feet from vehicle, 100 feet. Approaching hilltop, 500 feet, 10 feet from vehicle, 100 feet. Over the hill, 100 feet, 10 feet from vehicle, 500 feet. Whenever the view of your stopped vehicle and warning signal is blocked by the crest of a hill, a curve, or other obstruction, the warning signal closest to the obstruction to view shall be set at least 100 feet, but not more than 500 feet from your vehicle. Fuses can be dangerous. 1. Fuses can cause bad burns. When lighting them, hold the lighted end well away from your body, particularly your face and your eyes. 2. Never attach a flame-producing warning signal to any part of your vehicle. It is both dangerous and against the law. 3. In the event of spillage or leakage of fuel, use flame-producing warning signals with caution. Be sure they are placed far enough away from your vehicle to avoid a fire. 4. Avoid the use of flame-producing warning devices on the cargo tanks transporting flammable liquids or flammable compressed gases, or vehicles transporting explosives, Class A or Class B, or on any vehicle using compressed gas as a fuel. Use of a four-way flasher. The use of a four-way flasher is recommended as follows. 1. At any temporary stop in a business, residential, or open country area when the sight distance is restricted to less than 500 feet and the vehicle cannot be moved clear of the roadway. 2. When parked momentarily in a business area to load or unload freight. 3. Where there is a disabled vehicle, until necessary, warning devices are put out. 4. When vehicles are carrying passengers or hauling explosives or flammable materials and making mandatory stops at railroad grade crossings. 5. In any other situation, whenever the vehicle has to be stopped or parked temporarily in a traffic lane or adjacent to a traffic lane. Remember, you're bigger than they are. Show respect for other vehicles on the road by leaving appropriate space between you and other vehicles.